Welcome to Eye on the Illini. This is Mike Kegley here with Brad Sturdy, and we are going live here tonight to talk a little bit about the Illinois 2025-26 basketball schedule. Brad, that was announced today. Obviously, the Big Ten made a big song and dance, and had all sorts of celebrations around it. Um, I think they do a nice job of getting people to watch it and make it a big deal. What were your thoughts as you peruse some of the schedules as you're trying to keep track of just 18 teams?
Yeah, it was interesting. The first thing you notice is you're looking for, who they were going to play, but I think the order does matter. And I really like Illinois starting to the Big Ten season, the way it kicks off for them. So if we kind of look at this and we see that they start off, Ohio State and Nebraska is their December games. You're going to come off after playing. You're going to play UConn and Tennessee before you play at Ohio State. So you ought to be battle tested at that point. You've already played Texas Tech and Alabama as well. So, these are all games that are going to be, kind of those games, but they have prep time too. You know what I mean? Like it's UConn on a Friday and Tennessee not till the next Saturday. They got Ohio State and then Nebraska, and they got some more time off before they hit Missouri and Southern around Christmas. And so I like the way it starts off. The two December games are both obviously Ohio State's going to be they're going to be have some talent as they have had for a few years, but then they get Nebraska at home, and that's a game you should win. And so you start 2-0 in December, and you feel really good about your Big Ten season then, and you're ahead of the 8 ball then. We always talk about being behind. They're ahead then, and then you start with Penn State, Rutgers, Iowa, Northwestern, Minnesota, Maryland before you play Purdue. So every one of those games, especially when you consider Maryland's at home, Minnesota at home, Rutgers at home, at Penn State, a Northwestern team that lost a ton, Penn State team lost a ton, an Iowa team that's Drake East. I mean, these are all games that, Iowa used to be a really tough team to play, but that was before Caitlin Clark made everybody go to girls' games and nobody went to our women's games. Nobody went to the men's games anymore. So, as I love the schedule, the way it breaks down for Illinois, to have a legit shot at having a 7-1 or 8-0 start in Big Ten play. If that happens, now you put yourself in a great position to possibly win the league in the second half.
Yeah, I think it's very positive. And you only play Purdue once. Now, you'd prefer it was at University of Illinois, but you're in a position there where if you can come out of the first half of Big Ten games sitting with 1 or 2 losses, you've got to like your positioning for the back half of the year. And you've talked about the importance of getting a 1 through 4 seed. Maybe you can kind of hit that again, because if Illinois could consistently get a 1 through 4 seed, that's where this seems like the springboard to the Final Four really starts.
Yeah, no question. And so, you look at, here's the other part about this, and this is a big part of what you're looking for, why you want to be a top 4 seed, especially Illinois. Because if you look at the preliminary sites, first and second round, you could be in St. Louis and then Chicago, and then, then the Final Four, which is, but let's think. St. Louis, Chicago, and then the Final Four is in Indianapolis. Wow. I mean, I think we've been on a similar tour before in 2005. It was different order, but you get the drift. Can't ask for a much better route if that could happen. So you want to be in one of those protected seeds and get an opportunity to play St. Louis, Chicago, and Indianapolis. It was Indianapolis, Chicago, and St. Louis in 2005, but the principle is still the same for the Illini. Now, so that's why you want to get that protected seed. And to do that, you're going to have to do well in Big Ten play. I mean, I think this team could easily get 14-plus Big Ten wins with the schedule, the way it breaks down. And you mentioned playing, you'd rather play Purdue at home. And I agree with that to one extent. If you're going to lose to them, you'd rather it be one of your road games.
Yeah.
And then you beat everybody else. You know what I mean? Because conceivably, Purdue would be favored against almost everybody in the Big Ten, I think. Maybe not at Michigan or at Illinois. Maybe they wouldn't be at Michigan State. I don't know. There's a few places, but they're probably going to be favored in every other game if they play. You know what I mean? So this is if you're going to lose one, lose that one, and then kind of go from there, and then you win your other games. And I think if they win their home games, they've got doubles with Maryland, Northwestern, and Nebraska. Maryland has new coach in Buzz Williams. I think Buzz is a really good coach, but they lost a ton of guys from last year. And, they had some guys in, obviously the portal, but it's a new team. Maryland's been a house of horrors for Illinois, but
Yes.
Maybe they can find a way different. Maybe Buzz Williams is the allow Illinois to win that game. But Nebraska lost a ton from last year, and they melted down. I know they won the Crown tournament in the postseason. They lost their last 5 games of the regular season and missed the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
Of course, that can't happen this year.
I think going to 18.
And I'm interesting to see the Big Ten tournament schedule.
I actually like that going to 18. It never made any sense to me to go from an even number to an odd number. It's like, let's see, we could draw brackets with 18 that actually makes sense, or we could make it really weird and do 15. Let's go with that.
Yeah, how's it going to work? I'm trying to figure out how it's going to work. Are you going to play 2 games on Tuesday?
Be like remember the Big East when Georgetown made that run all the way through. Yeah, you started, what was it,
but
Tuesday?
I don't think I've ever seen but they ended on Saturday. Has there ever been a 6-day tournament?
Well, this should be it.
Yeah, I mean, or else you're going to have to play like 6 games the first day, start at 8 a.m. so we can get them all in. Let's go early on Wednesday. We're going to have 6 games.
Look, let's face it. If you can play 2 more games in an evening, there's going to be people like me and you who are like, okay, I'll watch it. It's basketball.
I'll watch. It's on. It's basketball.
Yeah.
Big Ten tournament, right? So yeah, I know.
Oh,
exactly.
I mean, there's going to be.
It's conceivable. We saw this last year. It's conceivable you're 15, 16, 17, and 18 teams, and maybe they have the play in on Tuesday. I haven't actually seen this, and maybe somebody's got a bracket out there. I've seen a bracket. It had 16 teams. I'm like, I think there's 18, but. So if you set this up and you have the 2 play-in games, let's say on Tuesday, and then 4 games Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're going to sell more tickets, right? It's more revenue. It's another day. But I really think that last year Nebraska was literally on the bubble. If they'd have won 1 more game, you could have a 15 seed who's literally on the conference bubble to make the NCAA tournament with a couple wins.
Yeah.
It's really wild when you think about the 15 seed because it's going to be because the NCAA tournament doesn't go by seeding, right? I mean, by the Big Ten seeding, because they could have a 4-way tie at 13th or 12th or whatever, and then that team, one of those teams, could have like a couple really good non-conference wins. So you could actually have a 15 seed playing an 18 seed to not get a bad loss potentially, and then they got to win the next game to get a quality win to finally get in the dance. So it's really, I don't know, it should be fun, and the reality is nobody's winning 6 games in 6 days. I don't think it's realistic. It's because you're a 15 to 18 seed. But man, that'd be fun to watch. See somebody do it. It'll create some storylines possibly.
Oh, it would definitely create some storylines. And I still think if you're going to have a tournament, you got to have everybody for a conference level tournament. So I know some people will just roll their eyes, but I do think it's good. And maybe in the future you do some play-in games and you cut down your if you get up with 24 teams or something, then you figure out something different. But I think it gives everybody that shot. And like you said, nobody wants to lose to the 18th team in the Big Ten, because that could that could be disastrous for you. And so I think that would add a lot of fun. Now, as you look at this schedule, is there any stretch of this schedule that you think, oh boy, that's going to be the wicked stretch? Is there any area that as you look at, you're like, ugh, or are you pretty content all the way across the board on it?
Well, I think that if I'm looking at a stretch here, it is the February 7th through February 21st. They're at Michigan State, Wisconsin at home, Indiana at home, at USC, at UCLA. In 2 weeks, they're playing 5 games. They're traveling from across the continent. I mean, I think that is literally a tough stretch. And that's not necessarily say, they have 2 home games in that stretch, but also Wisconsin is always a good team. They're going to be good. Greg Gard's always going to compete. John Blackwell's a really good player. Indiana's kind of got that new energy with Darren DeVries. I still wonder if they're a mid-major all-star team or whether they have more. We'll see. And then you go to the USC and UCLA, both teams that have quite a bit of talent. You know, I think UCLA underachieved a little bit 2 out of the last couple of years, really, last 3 years. And USC did underachieve a little bit last year, I thought, but they gave Illinois fits in Champaign last year, you know, traveling across the country. So Illinois can kind of return the favor, maybe. But I'm intrigued to watch that stretch. Now, one thing I do like is they come back on February 21st. They'll come back on that. They'll probably, I don't know what, depending on the game time, obviously, game times today, probably come back that night. They don't play Michigan until February 27th. So the cross-country travel, I think coming west to east is much worse than going east to west, right? And I think that, you know, we've seen teams that wrote this. They're going to have a bunch of days to recover. You know, they're going to have a few days to recover. They could take that, literally have Sunday and Monday off even, and just let the kids kind of get back into the swing of things before they start prepping for Michigan. And so that last stretch, so they from February 21st until the Big Ten tournament starts, they says March 11th is when it starts. So I don't know how they're going to do that, but they're going to figure out a way to make those games work. But it says March 11th through the 15th. But so let's say they play on the 12th. Let's say that their first game's on the 12th or even the 13th. I don't know. They would only play 3 games in what amounts to 3 weeks there. So you have 3 games in 3 weeks to end the season. And I think that's really intriguing because that's the time when they can really get healthy, get their legs fresh. And so I like the finish too. I mean, after that 7th to 21st, although you are playing a really good Michigan team, a good Oregon team, and at Maryland, where it's been a house of horrors, they could get hit by a chicken tender at any time. They, I like the way it's spaced out for them to be ready to go in Big Ten and NCAA tournament play. So I think it's a pretty good. I like the schedule. I really like the way it sets up for them. Underwood likes playing those short turnaround games, 2-day turnarounds. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good setup. You develop some consistency with their routine, and I always like that.
Yeah, the 11th is a Wednesday, so that means be looking at. I think it's a Wednesday. But yeah, that means they'll be looking at starting the tournament on a Wednesday. We'll see how they put all that together. If
they would have to play 6 games on Wednesday, right, to get to that 14 bye. It'd be interesting. I don't know how do they do that.
But we'll find out.
They have 6 games, then yeah, we will. You are correct. We will find out at some point. They haven't told us yet. I didn't even know that. I knew they were voting on that. I'm surprised that it passed. It was either 15 or 18. The women chose to stay at 15. They made a really good point though. The bottom 3 teams that missed the Big Ten tournament combined to win 17 Big Ten games. The bottom 3 teams in the women's tournament that missed it combined to win 7.
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably more stratification.
You don't want to take a chance of getting a bad loss. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely more spread out. For sure.
Yeah. So as I look at this, to me, the game that I'm, there's a lot of great games on here, but to me, that Michigan game is one. I'm very interested in how Michigan will look, out of the, as they start building out of the Juwan Howard era. And I like Illinois having the 6 days off. And I think, obviously, the interior Michigan will be able to put a lot of pressure on teams, but you do have the twins at Illinois that might be able to cause some problems. So I just think that looks like a really nice matchup, one that'll be intriguing.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of storylines there. Obviously, Morez Johnson returning to Champaign. Yep. Michigan has lost to Illinois 9 times in a row. Brad Underwood, they've got the, Dust. And here's the thing. He's also beaten Dusty May twice in a row because they beat him last year by a bajillion. Last 3 wins against Michigan are by combined 64 points over the past 2 seasons. They kind of owned them. But then, which is obviously doesn't mean anything this year, but it kind of sees maybe Brad Underwood just has that. It's like Maryland and Illinois, but the other way, right? And then, but I also say that the other thing about this, they also beat Dusty May when he was with Florida Atlantic, and then with Michigan last year. So
yep.
I don't know. He's gonna have to, got to if you're going to come for the king, I guess you better, bring it. So, and right now, I think Matt Painter, Tom Izzo, and Brad Underwood have, and I don't want to, not to dismiss anything. I think Michigan's really got a chance to be really good, but those three programs, and you could maybe throw Greg Gard in there, although he hasn't had the postseason success yet, in a long time. But those guys have kind of, Painter and Izzo and Underwood have kind of separated themselves, I think, as the top three coaches in this league at the moment.
Right.
Mick Cronin has a good resume outside the Big Ten. He's had some,
but he doesn't seem real happy about being at UCLA anymore. So
he here's the thing. He mentioned last year, hey, I get up and get a drive down whatever, Sunset Drive or whatever it is in Los Angeles every day to go to work. Sunset Boulevard. And that's how I go to work. It was like talking how great it was to coach UCLA. And then the minute they had some adversity, he complained about the travel. I got to come across the country. It's not fair. It's like, I love it, except when I don't love it. So it's always interesting. But yeah, I think the
NIL's got to be harder, though.
West too.
I think his lack of NIL is probably the most painful thing for Mick out there.
Sure.
So, folks,
well, let's be honest. LA is a pro sports town. You know what I mean? So you're competing with pro sports. It's a different animal, right?
Yeah, it's a different animal. That's why Illinois, has challenges up in Chicago. You got to deal with the Bears and the Bulls and the Cubs and the Sox and the Blackhawks and whatever else.
The Sox?
Yeah,
the Sox, Mike?
Yeah.
Sox.
I get paid $2.
I remember when they were good. I remember they were good.
Those 2 years. Oh, by the way, Brad, you know what?
Yeah.
Delete Me makes it quick, easy, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everybody vulnerable. Well, data brokers are out there, and they get your name, your contact info, social security number, home address, even information, Brad, about your family members could all be compiled by data brokers who then sell it online. Well, have you ever been a victim of identity theft, harassment, doxing? If you haven't, you may know somebody who has, and Delete Me can help. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for Eye on the Illini listeners. Today you get 20% off your Delete Me plan by texting HIT to 64000. The only way to get 20% off is to text HIT to 64,000. That's HIT to 64000. Message and data rates may apply. So, Brad, as we go on to this, there's a couple teams that I'm a little bit nervous about. I'm just not certain what to expect from Ohio State. They have been, and obviously now, it's been this way for a few years, but their roster to me always seems better than their results at the end of the year when you look at it. And then the other team is everybody wants to bury Tom Izzo every year. And Tom Izzo refuses to be buried, or he's a vampire. I'm not certain which. Of those two teams, what do you think of those two teams here at this early juncture?
Ohio State's interesting. Again, they've had talent. There's no question they've always had talent. I do think they're good, but I just don't. There's something they're missing, and I don't know what it is. I can't tell you this, that, or the other, but it seems like they're missing something to get over the hump. So I mean, they're fine. Michigan State to me is I feel like sometimes we've been shoveling on Tom Izzo, right? The dirt, right? But he keeps coming back. But I feel like they aren't at the level that they were, if that makes sense. They're still good. I mean, did they go to the Elite Eight last year? Is that right?
Yeah, I'd have to look. I mean, I try to blank them out.
But I know, but what I'm saying is they obviously, I think they, it's I don't know. I wonder how good, they have a lot of talent. They lost to Auburn in the Elite Eight. They did. So, but they lose a couple guys, but they bring back some good talent. They've got some nice recruits. I mean, they could be good. Jeremy Fears is going to be a key guy for them at the point guard. They tell me Cohen Carr has really just blown up and become a more complete player,
I can believe that.
which says the freak athlete. Is they, you just wonder, like, they don't have, Booker as that, he's gone, but he never really amounted to what he should have been. They don't really look like they have a crazy, but they're going to guard, they're going to be physical. Do they have the offensive firepower to be, an elite team? So we'll see. But yeah, I can see where it's shared. The one thing I like is that, even if you play at Michigan State, I mean, that's going to be a tough place to win. You know how that is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
It's a hard game to win. You got to have a really good game. You can't have a bad day, and you're probably going to get some bad breaks. This year, Stojakovic will be in foul trouble before the game starts, much like Kasparis was last year. So, but I do think, they're competitive. I still think that, and I've gone up and down this. I think Purdue, I think Michigan, another team that UCLA is another team that really intrigues me with their talent, even if they maybe they haven't done it. But I think that Illinois is right there with Michigan State, and I think those are the top teams in the league. Oregon is usually solid. We'll see. I think Wisconsin is going to compete. Those are all NCAA tournament teams. Who steps up, though? You know what? You know what team that I'm intrigued by, Mike, is Rutgers. And not that they're going to be great. They had 2 top 5 picks last year in the NBA draft, right?
Yes.
Did Bailey end up going 5th, or would he drop a little bit? But regardless, right? Okay, 2 top 10 picks, whatever I don't remember exactly, but I know Dylan Harper went 2nd. But Rutgers, Steve Peichel has never had that level of talent on a team,
and he doesn't want.
But he wasn't able to ever. No, I really don't think he does. I think he likes having these guys that are going to be physical and tough, and they're going to guard you, and they're going to be older, and they're going to. I think that they might be actually better than they were last year, even if they're not near as talented, because they're going to be rougher, more physical, and they're going to be a little tougher, right? I mean, so they're going to be that team that kind of will hit you in the mouth at Jersey Mike's Arena and their Piscataway, especially because that is a tough place to play. Illinois doesn't have to go there, but it'll be interesting. And then I have no idea what to expect from Indiana and Iowa. I really don't. They're just so brand new.
Yep. Yeah, and you don't know exactly. I mean, you kind of have assumptions on how the coach is going to coach them, but you got a whole new mix of players, and Indiana seems to be at least getting away from a team that can't shoot at all. That Mike Woodson seemed to have such faith in every single year that he kept reconstructing the same team. I just didn't get it. I mean, clearly the guy's a smart dude. He's coached very, very effectively in the NBA, but he just could not understand that you have to be able to shoot 3-pointers.
He was still living in the 80s when you throw it in the big guy, let him work. Throw it in the big guy, let him work. It's just different world. Yeah,
that was. So if you had to pick now. Oh, well, one other thing, I almost think part of the difference of Michigan State, maybe they aren't as good as they used to be, but I also think that the emergence of Illinois again and Purdue being at very high levels has made it harder on Michigan State. There was a few years there where I don't know, they didn't just, Wisconsin maybe was the only team that seemed like they could really compete on their level. Now you got a couple teams, plus Wisconsin's still pretty tough, plus UCLA's around. But if you had to pick, who would your 1, 2, 3 be for this? Now, obviously, this is the way too early thing, but if you had to pick here before we really know what the hell we're talking about, what would you say?
I'm going to go with Purdue. I think they go maybe 16 or 4, 17 and 3, something like that. Michigan maybe 15-5, Illinois 14-6, something like that. That's what I'm thinking right now. Okay. Just looking at the games and the schedule. So that's those would be my top 3.
Okay, and of course, as we know, all you need is a freshman to surprise and be that extra factor that people didn't think about, or you get the transfer who elevates their game from where they used to be, or you get a guy who's re-energized by playing with his twin brother. You never know what can get these guys to play at a different level.
And you look at Illinois, and we talk about you talk about the Illini a lot, obviously on the website and different things. they do have an intriguing mix, especially with Mahalo and Petrovic. When you add him in the
a
mix,
42-year-old point guard.
he's a. I played with him back in
You
junior
realize
high.
Hollywood's going to
buddies.
look at him. Somebody from Hollywood is going to go, we got about 14 roles for this dude. He's going to be.
Dude, did he not look? Hey, that picture they released of him, did he not look like Belushi on the Wheaties box with the cigarette after he?
That's what I'm saying. You could actually.
I mean, like
get him.
I'm waiting for him to have a cigarette. And
then again,
like,
Underwood next summer, Underwood's going to be gone for a week, and then we're going to find out that he plays some sort of Russian criminal in the next Mission Impossible. he'll be the Russian guy who runs the whole organization. And who is that? Well, that's Brad Underwood. Wow, he looks like a real Russian.
Mission
all because
Impossible.
of one picture.
Illini, they had Rogue Nation. Now they got Illini Nation. So they with Jeff and O behind him. Those are big dudes. Jeff and O are big guys. They can.
Yeah, but Jeff's got to lose the glasses.
It's intriguing.
Jeff looks too nice in the glasses. He's got to go with contacts.
Yeah, you got to take the glasses off, go some contacts.
Yeah, because he's going to be a bad. If you're going to play a bad guy,
maybe you should get some red contacts to make his eyes red.
Yeah, a little feral. Little feral look.
Yeah, that'd be good. So I'll let him. I'm gonna have to tell him that. No, but so as we kind of look, but I only got with Petrovic, you can get in the paint all the time. You got a Boswell who really came on at the end of last year, elite defender on the perimeter. Stojakovic is such a dynamic offensive player. And then you have Tomislav, who was, arguably coming back. You look at him as maybe being your best player, coming in as a center. Multiple options with Big Z. They're going to play together some. But even when you take Tomislav out, knowing you have another 7-2 guy or 7-3 guy who can block shots is a nice luxury. You got Merkovic. Keaton Wagler, we've heard rave reviews about him and the way he's playing in the offseason. Ben Humrickhouse, we haven't, he's coming off the bench likely. Jake Davis is slimmed down so he can play more wing. You got a dynamic point guard, Brandon Lee, who's another kid who's a winner coming in as a freshman. His dad won a lot, won a national title. So maybe he's trying to match him, So there's just a lot of, they have some really intriguing pieces and they can go a lot of different directions in the way they play. Even without, obviously the injury to Ty Rodgers is hurts because even if Ty's not a great offensive player, he is a good connector and he's a guy who can really guard and he can rebound and he plays with energy. And so that's a loss, but at the same time, they do have a lot of pieces who can kind of fill some voids there that they miss until Ty is able to play again.
Yeah. I hope he can, because I gotta admit, when I chatted with him a few minutes at the Memphis EYBL thing, he just brings like a very positive force to it, and he was genuinely excited about the prospects for this year. And you just hate to see somebody miss a season when there's somebody who he's not one of those guys who wishes he was somewhere else or looks at the glass half empty. He's a positive guy, so I was really saddened by that, and I hope he can somehow rebound in time to play some, even if it's just maybe after January or after the new year.
Yeah, that would be nice. That'd be a good infusion of energy, right, and talent and athleticism at that point in the year. So we'll kind of see how that goes. How he does that. But yeah, I think there's a lot of pieces. They're going to be intriguing, and how they mesh together. I was talking to Brad the other day at Saturday at the football game, and he's just chomping at the bit. Brad Underwood, that is, not myself. I was not talking to myself. Maybe I was, but not at this time. So anyway, Brad Underwood said, he's really chomping at the bit to get going with these guys. Right now, they're practicing 4 hours a week on the court with the coaches, and then they have 4 hours in the weight room with Fletch, and that's all they can do. Now, that doesn't mean they're only in the gym 4 hours, because these dudes are in there scrimmaging and working on their own all the time, right? And they get their charts charted by the NOAA thing, and they know exactly how many they're making, missing, whatever. But he really wants to get that, and we're just a few weeks away from getting it rolling with the full bore practice and game 20 hours a week, and I think they're excited.
Yeah, this is going to be a great season. So as we look to kind of wrap this up a little bit, folks, if you enjoy this type of information, Brad's been covering the basketball team longer than just about anybody outside of Lauren Tate. And certainly Illini guys has been
I will
very,
not catch Lauren Tate.
yeah.
I will not catch Lauren Tate.
I don't think anybody will catch Lauren. Lauren is the
No.
if you want to know anything about the Indiana Illinois, the last matchup where they played together 75 years ago in 1950 in Champaign, I am willing to put money that Lauren Tate was at the game, and I'm not joking about that.
He was 18. He may have been an Illinois student. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. But anyway, but Brad's been covering for a long time. Kat, of course, has been covering for a long time. So when you get a membership to IlliniGuys.com, what makes it a little bit different is you can go onto our message board, and that's where instead of a passive thing where you just read or listen to us, you can actually interact and ask questions back and forth and chat about it. We have a lot of people who do that all the time. Plus, there's a huge network of people who get to know each other online, just go back and forth on the message boards on subjects Illini. Plus, then you add just about any other sport, and people will talk about it. So that's a lot of fun. Please try to join IlliniGuys.com. 27 cents a day, $99 a year, and certainly we would love that. And of course, those members are basically helping us get the dollars we need so that we can go out and cover the team. Brad's got to go fly to New York. We send Matt all over the country for football and basketball. And we love to have the ability to cover those games where we can be there and give you the best news possible. One other thing, folks, this week we will be doing our halftime live at the game, and we'll be talking about Indiana versus Illinois at the half. Tune on YouTube. You'll be able to get Illini Guys YouTube. And after the game, we do our post-game show, which is on STL Sports Central. And the other thing is we will also have, for the first time ever, the Illini Guys pregame show that will kick off at 6 p.m., just 30 minutes before the game. That way you don't have to be sitting there watching a college football game that's leading into it that you don't really care about. You get some Illini talk, and that is something that will be fun. That'll be on our YouTube channel. And you can also catch our stuff on our Illini Guys Twitter page as well. So there's a lot of ways to get a hold of that. We'd love it if you are watching us to give us a like and a share, and go ahead and follow us, because that helps us as well as we try to build what we do and try to get it better so that we can keep you better informed. Brad, any last minute words here before we head out of here? And of course, we will all be back at numerous times during the evening on the Illinois versus Indiana game.
Yeah, I'm excited about this matchup. You got two top 20 teams. This is a huge matchup for both teams. I think it solidifies, Indiana and Illinois, as Illinois already got the win at Duke, which is obviously a good win. But this really could spring some momentum and make this team, the winner of this game, moves into like legitimate college football playoff like possibility. Like, I mean, they're going to be mocked into that playoff consistently by winning this game. Because when you look at the rest of their schedule, obviously USC's tough. Purdue gives Illinois fits. You got Ohio State. But other than Ohio State, you're probably going to be favored in every game the rest of the way for Illinois. Or Indiana, they have a couple. But, I mean, if they lose this game, it's probably going to be hard for them to get better than 9-3, 10-2. You know what I mean? So, the opportunity is there for one of these teams. Whoever takes it by the horns here and gets this win on Saturday, it's huge. And, for that, we got a big visit weekend for basketball and football on the 27th against USC. It should be a blast.
Yeah, and I keep thinking, this new Big Ten, Illinois will have multiple tough games. You got USC is going to be tough. Ohio State's going to be tough. Traveling at Washington, people forget about, but go ahead and check their record out at home over the last 20 years. That's a tough game. And then if Illinois can get through that stretch, they could have some opportunities where they just have to watch out for the letdown. Of course, we'll be there for the whole thing.
Yep.
Please go ahead and watch us and follow along with us. We're longtime Illini fans who also have had the distinct pleasure of being able to cover the team for a number of years as well. So with that, folks, we will be back on Saturday, 6 o'clock Central. We'll have a half-hour show right before the game, and we would love to have as many of you tune in as possible, so please go ahead and do that, and then we'll wait and see who else starts trying to do that same thing before games. That'll be fun to watch the little as the dominoes fall and different people try to decide to do what we do. But we are looking forward to talking about the game and having a fantastic time with Illini fans. Until next time, folks, go Illini.